Hi, and welcome to episode 9 of the Living Tantra podcast. Today, I am so lucky to be here with Asil Toksal. He's an Austrian born channel and healer, and his work includes group energy healing sessions and the channeling of celestial and angelic guides, as well as working on the energetic alignment of sacred sites and earth energies. The goal of both aspects of his work is to assist the evolution of humanity at this time. He's traveled widely to do this work throughout the United States, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and South America. For the past 18 years, Asil has been deeply committed to his spiritual path, while also training in a variety of different energy healing modalities. He's worked with many masters and received initiations by lineage holders of various traditions in South America, North America, and China. In his earlier years, he also served as a CEO and corporate executive in software, marketing, and communications. 5 years ago, during a moment of deep spiritual experience, Asil connected for the first time to the channeled angelic guides and energies that he works with today. He was offered the opportunity to work closely with these guides, but he was asked to make the choice to let go of the prior traditions, rituals, and healing methods that he'd learned. After making this choice, the guides assisted him through an intensive spiritual and energetic transformational process. This created a connection that allowed him to begin to receive and transmit energy, as well as spoken wisdom from these angelic and celestial realms. This connection forms the basis of his work today. So, Asil, the main reason I really felt inspired to interview you is in my proximity to you, just really witnessing the depth of light that you have embodied, and also being privy to a few of the stories around your experiences of having to walk through the darkness to hold that depth of light. And I feel like you're such a way shower or an inspiration for what's being asked of all of us right now. And maybe you can speak a little bit about the propensity of these times and how little time we actually have, and then launch into some personal stories about your journey that are so inspiring. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. It's an honor to be here with you, and it's beautiful to see the light that you bring into this world with the work that you do. And in some ways, you're also an inspiration for me. Thank you. When this work started to happen, um, this connection started to establish with me. I knew that both I was in a place of transformation, in a time of transformation, and I had a feeling that humanity was in a time of transformation and awakening as well. Now, it's like the evolution of consciousness in human form is coming to a culmination or to a peak moment. And I think these waves of evolutionary growth that we experience, this is a really big wave. That's what it feels like to me. It's we're talking about the awakening of billions of people, billions of souls that are in human form, combined with the changes that we're experiencing on this energetic plane, on this earthly plane, cosmological changes. And some individuals that are maybe watching this podcast may know and understand what I'm talking about. Some maybe, what is he talking about? So maybe I'll step, a bit back and I say, in case you haven't noticed, um, things are changing dramatically and fast. There is an acceleration happening of the awakening process and the evolution process of consciousness in human form. Now, how do we see or feel that? The most the most accurate and the most powerful way to see and feel that is internally and with self. So, as a human being, you may have noticed that there is an internal and innate desire for answers, for bigger answers. Who am I? Where do I come from? What's this purpose of being human? What's this human life about? Why is there such a strong polarity in human existence? Why can't we find inner peace, or why can't we find happiness? Why can't we find world peace? These are like big questions that may be arising for some of the viewers here. At least for me, those were the questions that led me on my spiritual path, because I was doing all the things that humanity has told me to do, and society said, like, if you do these things, you'll be happy. And I realized it wasn't working for me. So the deeper quest for me was, what does my soul want? What is the growth and awakening process that's happening within me that desires a greater understanding and a greater knowing of existence?
See, I want to interrupt you here real quickly. This is such an important point that you bring up because your work serves the collective on such a massive scale. And yet, what I'm hearing you say is that the only way into the collective work is by doing our own inner work.
Yes, this is definitely in personal experience as well as in correlation with what the guides that I work with have said. It is ultimately it's collective awakening, it's collective transition, collective expansion that we are coming into experiencing. But it always starts with what's happening within us. The calling is always from within. Now, someone could walk up to you and say, Catherine, you need to awaken, you need to transform, and you need to alchemize all the things that are happening within you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. But if you have nothing inside of you that resonates with that, there's no way you're going to follow that, voice. You're going to say like, "Oh, crazy person, like keep walking," right? And what I'm trying to say is ultimately there needs to be some sort of inner calling, a spark from within that says, okay, I'm ready to start asking the difficult questions. I'm ready to look inside to what needs to change within me so I can find my center and find my core.
And you're a bit of a extreme athlete or extreme example in this sense. So how for you, how what does that voice sound like? I mean, it's a continual voice. It's not like it just speaks to us once, but it's sort of there nudging us along when we start to get complacent or we plateau out or, you know, I have such respect for you on the continual edge that you place yourself on,
Mm,
to refine and refine and refine further your consciousness. So, what does that voice feel like, sound like inside of you?
as you said, it's a transforming and changing voice over time. Initially, it was more like, I'd say, a voice of frustration. It was a voice of, I need to know what's happening. I need to know what this life is about. I didn't come here to push paper and, you know, like do the corporate and business stuff that I was doing, even though I was good at it, it didn't mean much at the end of the day. So the questions that initially I was asking myself is like, why am I even doing any of this? And what's the meaning after doing all of it? Am I just going to live a human life, have relationships, um, learn a couple things, achieve a couple things, get patted on my shoulder, and then die peacefully in my home with a dog and children and my wife? And then I would look at the life lived successfully according to humanity or society, current society, and I would say, that doesn't look like a fulfilling life. For some reason, everything seems so perfect, and at the same time, it's meaningless. So I needed to understand, like, why is that meaningless if it's seemingly so perfect? So the voice first led me on this. Okay, you got to let go of everything that you imagine to be part of, the human perfect life, and look at the essence of what is speaking from within. Like, can I find a moment of true silence, of true quiet, where I'm one with everything, one with all, one with the fabric of creation? And what is the voice that emerges from that place? Right? What's the picture of a perfect life lived from that place? Because that's an entirely different basis than someone telling you how to live your life, right? And so from that place, the the voice, this calling from within, started to shift as well. It turned into a my personal mission and vision is to support humanity in its evolution as a consciousness. Now, people will say, well, what does that even mean? Yes, as human, I feel like I have consciousness. Humanity seems to be civilization, but it is so much more than that. Humanity is a collective organism, is a collective consciousness that is having individualized human experiences to learn, to realize, and these realizations nourish both us and evolve us as an individual soul container, but also the collective evolves as a result of the individual learnings and realizations. So when we start to understand that, then it's a different perspective we start to hold about life and existence and humanity. So I'm part of a collective. This collective evolves through my learnings. And as the collective evolves, the the learnings and the realities that emerge before me are also changing. Okay, so it's a feedback loop in that sense, right? So we evolving together, we evolving individually, and it's getting in some ways to a critical moment in time.
Say more. Without
So,
without dooming us.
oh no, I feel like, whatever this transformational process is that we're in, it's also the most beautiful and most powerful thing that humanity will undergo. And it's a tremendous privilege to be alive at this time of human existence. That's the way I see it. So there's no part in me that says, oh, I'm done with human existence. This is too hard. I'm not sure why I'm doing this in the first place, and so on. But there is the core of my being is incredibly privileged and honored to be alive, to be a witness to this evolution that's occurring and will occur. So, this acceleration of evolution that we are experiencing as a collective and as individuals will and is showing itself in the strengthening of polarity. So, consciousness, when it's like segmenting itself into like individualized human forms, it is a bit like many different experiments that it's running at the same time. Okay, so imagine that you, as a viewer, and you, Catherine, and me, we are experiments, right? Consciousness is saying, okay, is there a soul that wants to run an experiment in human form? And then souls are raising their hands. So they're like, okay, I'll go. So and say, okay, great. So what type of experiences, what type of life, and what type of service would you like to do? And the soul says, well, I'll pick this. Okay, great, fantastic. So you're next. Which family would you like to go into? I like this family. Okay, great, fantastic. So you're going there. So I'm very simplifying this process, right? It's a lot more complex than that. And as the individualized soul comes into being, all its knowing and understanding of previous lifetimes and so on is reset, is cleared, so that the individualized soul starts from a fresh and blank slate. Nonetheless, all of that which the soul knows is already with them. It's just somewhat buried in a space of, let's say, unconscious knowing. Um, it's in a layer of our consciousness that we can access, but it will take time and practice to get to that place. I'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah. Would you say, though, now in this time of intensity, that the veils are thinning and there are ways that we actually have even more access to past, present, and future, maybe in ways that we hadn't before? And, I know for myself and so many people that I work with, they feel like, wait a minute, I thought I worked this grief, or I thought I moved through this layer of my karma before, and yet here it is, presenting at the next deepest layer. Can you speak to that sort of through now time and maybe share
Yes,
personally a bit? Yeah.
absolutely. So, in many ways, this acceleration and this transformational process that humanity is undergoing is somewhat correlated with the rising of energies that are occurring on this earthly plane, on this, um, let's say, plane of existence that we are in. What does it mean when energies are rising? When energies are rising, then we have access to more, access to more energy, access to more connection, access to different planes of existence, as well as access to more of who we are and what we are. So, as the veils are thinning to non material existence, then as material beings, we have more access to these non material parts of ourselves as well as non material planes of existence. So, that means we may have a greater understanding and an easier access to know how we lived, in different lives that we have lived. We may have greater understanding to and connection to what people call spirit guides or celestial guides or other forms of being that are either observing or somewhat supporting the human experience. So the veils are thinning and things are getting a little bit more intense. Anyone notice that?
So, question for you. Um, and given what I know about you, this is a specifically chosen question. Yeah, we have more access to guides, to influences, to all of that. And how do we not get lost? How do we know that we're choosing the guides or the support or the voices that are in deepest service to our own individual expression of evolving consciousness?
Right. Well, whatever the voice is that we're listening to, be it our own voice or a voice of a part of our being, or the voices of celestial guides or spirit guides, whatever it is that you may have access to, it has to feel deeply resonant. It has to feel deeply resonant. And you may entertain the idea of listening to that voice for a moment to then discern if it's deeply resonant with who you are and deeply resonant with something inside of you beyond your mind or your emotional response to it. So in our practice we would look into an internal alignment, mental, emotional, physical, and energetic alignment. And I can check against all parts of my being if this is resonant. So if I hear a message, I can say, is this resonant with my mental constructs? Is this resonant with my emotional construct, with my physical body? Does it feel somatically resonant? And does it feel energetically resonant? And and through that guiding light, then I can say, okay, I'm willing to listen more to this voice. Otherwise, I can say, this voice had something to teach me in the moment, and I'm now moving to something else, or I'm moving forward to find a voice that is more resonant with who I am. So, and it's always like you can also say, instead of resonant, you can say, does this feel aligned with me?
Mm. Yeah. So this brings up my next question, because as in this human experience, we all have learnings and lessons um, that bring us, necessary pieces of knowing ourselves. And oftentimes that's through relationship. So I guess I'd love to hear a little bit of your navigation of this from a very human standpoint, given the level of consciousness and knowing that you have, and also being in this human experience with your own learnings and your own lessons.
Hmm. You mean how life changes in terms
Mhm.
of relationships and relating to the human experience and relating to other humans?
Yes.
Well, I'd say it changes tremendously. It changes a lot. As you are changing and shifting to become a greater potential and greater empowered version of yourself, your immediate reality, your immediate surrounding will change. People that are resonant with this new version that is coming about you, they will stay and they will be attracted to this. They might even be inspired to grow as a result of your growth, right? They'll say, finally, this is the person that I've first come to meet. And this is the soul that I've been wanting to connect with, and you're finally embodying that, right? Some people will be acting like that. Other people will say, I don't know you anymore. What happened to the person that I fell in love with? You've changed, and I don't like it. And they're entitled to have their perspective. It's not about being right or being wrong. It's about, again, a matter of resonance. So the person that you're becoming may no longer be resonant with the person that they had in their mind or that they were expecting to stay the same forever, right? And some of these separations might be bittersweet, some of them might be sour, and some of them will be, happy endings. We'll say, okay, thank you. Like we've served each other in a certain way, and I'll leave the door open for a future moment of reconnection.
Are you finding that relationships are evolving, ending faster, with this acceleration that, yeah,
I
things are
see
changing quickly?
the cycles of relationships are accelerating in an interesting way as well. So you might meet someone that you resonate with, you relate with, and connect with on a deep level almost instantaneously. For me, much faster than any type of relationship building that I used to know in the past. It's almost like I meet a person and I know, oh, we've lived many lives together. This person is so clearly one of my, people, so to say. And it's clear we're going to spend some time together. It's clear we're going to um, have very deep and meaningful conversations and inspire each other. And that could be within minutes or seconds. And then you may have the most incredible conversation where you live through lifetimes with this person in that conversation. There's remembering, there is reactivation, there is an exchange that's occurring. And maybe after that conversation, that relationship is over
Mm,
because it served exactly what it needed to serve in the moment.
right.
So there is certainly an acceleration, a deepening, as well as these the ins and outs out of relationships can be much faster than anything we've experienced before.
Mm. A question for you. This is something I'm noticing. The people that I'm drawn to very magnetically, very quickly, it seems less and less about my needs or pictures in relationship and more about an evolutionary impulse or expression that wants to move through that meeting in service to something larger. Can you
Mhm.
say a little bit about that?
Yes, that's a bit more advanced. So in in a traditional human life, we are living and learning a lot of the lessons that we have to learn as an individual human being. So there is a lot of learnings and realizations and incomplete realizations that we need to go through. A lot of the reality that's immediately manifesting in our environment and the relationships that are manifesting in our environment are in order to match against the learnings to be had. So it's an incredibly genius mechanism, super intelligent, right? So the reality that immediately manifests before you is in correlation to the learnings that you need to have, or that the learnings you chose to have, the incomplete realizations. So in a traditional and standard operation of human existence, this is what will happen. Like I'll walk through life, I'll meet a person, and this person will inspire a certain type of trigger, learning, love, inspiration, growth, and so on. Now, when we move through many of these realizations individually and we start to get into a place where we become more of divine vessels of service, or as we call it in our practice and in our organization, we call it pillars of light and service. When we become an individual of that kind, I could be in a conversation that has very small or no relevance to me as the human being. But I'm in that momentary relation as a vessel of service. And something may come through me, be it words or a share or an emotional expression, that I am observing and witnessing, but it's almost like something else is moving through me for the other person. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to happen. It truly is.
Mhm.
Um, I almost find it to be a magical thing to happen. I'm just always in awe watching, oh, this is interesting. I had no contemplation or preparation to say the things that I said or to feel the things that I felt. It just something, a stream of consciousness moved through me.
So beautiful. Yeah. I have one more question for you, and then I want you to speak about your organization and what you have, the gathering that you have upcoming in November.
Mm.
Asil, as I know you, you carry a tremendous amount of light and a field of love around you. And I also know that you've traveled through some really, really dark places by choice.
Hmm.
As I'm understanding in my own journey, the movement of consciousness now and working with many others, what's being asked of all of us is to penetrate into the density of our own darkness in order to anchor the amount of light that's available to us now on the planet. And as I said in the beginning, I feel like you're a way shower in this. Can you share a little bit just about your personal experience and how you approach this in a way that may give some of us a reference
Hmm.
and a reminder, yeah, that there is a way through.
Yeah, there is a famous saying, um, the greater the light, the greater the shadow, or the greater the dark. And light and dark operate in an equilibrium, and they are consistently balancing each other out all the time. There would not be the existence in which we are in, this dualistic experience, this dualistic reality that we're in, would not exist without the other. In that way, light and dark are in this grand interplay of existence. Imagine like a yin and yang symbol, right? And in this fine line where light and dark meets is the human experience. That's the way I see it. That's the way I feel it. That's the same thing within ourselves. There's a great interplay of light and dark. And I don't necessarily mean light and dark as in good and evil, because those are human judgments that were projected onto light and dark. Light and dark is creative and destructive force. And creation and destruction, they coexist together because otherwise reality in the way we know it wouldn't exist. So, you know, trees grow, leaves fall on the ground, leaves need to be digested, there's a destruction process, and then that becomes fertile ground and new trees grow, right? So it's like this is the cycle of life. Creation and destruction is part of our existence in this material form. Now, when we are evolving, we need to go through these cycles that the tree is going through, not just as physical beings, but as spiritual beings. The leaves that are turning brown need to fall need to be digested, realized, become fertile ground for new growth. And this consistent evolutionary process that's happening inside is to some degree a natural process, but also can be consciously driven, a conscious choice of evolution, and a conscious choice of, you know, letting go of some of those things that need to be, realized and eventually digested for new growth. Now, on a personal level, I I used to always think like I'm working with these powerful guides, and I'm given incredible authority of bringing light into this world. And I thought, wow, I'm the luckiest person alive. I still feel that I am. But some people would say, your life seems like, rainbow and unicorns because you talk to angels and you have like all this light oozing out of you, and you do like these, great things where people are impacted positively. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But with this great responsibility of holding and bringing light, I would always say to the guides, I'd say, what are you preparing me for? Like, why am I being given so much energy and so much power and light? And they'll say, you'll see. Like, you don't need to know right now, but you'll see. And sometimes I'll be dealing with incredibly difficult energetic situations or illnesses or sicknesses, or, you know, being guided to go to war zones or being guided to go to places of global trauma, genocides, concentration camps, whatever it is you could imagine, where darkness has ravaged through um, human existence and left a mark that hasn't fully cleared. And so the guides would say, well, the reason you've been giving this amount of authority and this amount of energy and power and light is because we need someone to go to these places and do this work, clearings and cleanup work and realignment, rebalancing. Like, okay, now I get it. The greater the light you're given, some of the places and people and energies you may have to face are going to be also of great darkness. So it is also an internal process of facing that darkness within, right? And, personally, I would always say an individual that has experienced very difficult circumstances in life is very often a very powerful soul. It takes a powerful soul to say at the entry, say, I want to have this kind of experience. I want to have this kind of experience. And maybe the powers to be say, are you sure? The soul says, yes, I am. I'm ready to do this kind of heavy lifting. And so some people that are going through incredible difficult challenges in life that have not completely transformed it yet or alchemized it yet and have it integrated as part of their being may think, oh, I am such a victim of life. I'm such a victim of human experience. And I've experienced atrocities of, human relating and human doing. But once they transform the experience itself and the trauma itself, they'll become some of the most powerful human beings that humanity has seen. Because their ability to transform and walk a life of alignment and of service will help many others transform. So it takes a powerful soul to have challenging experiences in human life.
Beautifully said. Yeah. And a good reminder that we have chosen.
We
We've
have
chosen.
chosen. That's the, I think it's such a fundamental thing to embrace. It's like once you start embracing that you have chosen, you're back in the power seat. You're back in the place of accountability. You're back in the place of possibility. If I have chosen that, that means I have the tools and I will find the tools and I will find it within me to transform, to grow, and to evolve. As long as I say, I am a subject to what's happening to me, I'm a victim of what's happening to me. I am not in the power seat. But you know all of this already, Catherine.
It's not just your words, though. It's
Mm,
feeling the depth to which you've embodied it. There's transmission in that. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, incredible transmission, and that I think that's a good lead into, not just are you walking this path deeply, as I witness you, you know, authentically. Um, the effect of it is reaching thousands and thousands of people. You've created an incredible organization that's supporting the evolution of consciousness in a very, very large way through transmissions and courses and gatherings. And yeah, share a little bit about that.
So, our organization is Ascension One Collective. It's a nonprofit in the US that holds the body of work that's coming through these celestial guides, but also coming through my teachings and the things that I have learned, the things that I'm able to share in my humble journey. And in this work, we deliver basically two pathways. One pathway is the development to become a pillar of light, and a pillar of light in the service. What is a pillar of light? Well, imagine when things get hard in the human experience, there's always a person that people in a community look towards. The person that is the most aligned, the calmest, the most rooted and grounded, the most wise. If that person is calm, then everything's fine. If that person is freaking out, then we have to worry, right? It's that's what I call a pillar of light. Okay? So it is in some ways a community leader, an elder, but elder doesn't have to do anything with age. Um, but it is someone that's holding a deep connection to themselves and to existence and to earth. Now, pillars of light are not just born, they're made. And everyone can be a pillar of light through continued practice, through continued expansion and evolution. And this pathway to becoming a pillar of light and also a pillar of light in service, and in service can mean a lot of different things, is a pathway that we guide people through, through courses, through transmissions, through exercises, practices, through Q&As, and as well as through a community of people that are going through that. Um, to me, that's an incredible thing to do. It's also on an individual level. There's a lot of things you have to look at to become a pillar of light. It's it's a deep journey inwards, but it is also the most beautiful and most empowering journey one can do. So that's one pathway, the pillars of light. The second pathway is what we call sacred earth, and that is have becoming and developing a greater understanding of the energies of the earth and the energies that are existent on this planet. And there is, we live a human life in a societal construct and civilization and cities, and we forget that, if that we are all energy, and the world is all energy. We just, you know when energy drops in its frequency, it materializes into physical existence. So we are, it's just slower down, and then we become material beings, but we are all energy beings. So the earth itself is, in its own way, a living organism, a living consciousness. And the sacred earth path guides individuals of understanding the the consciousness of the earth, as well as the energy of the earth, and how this energy is palpably different in other places, around the world, in specific places around the world. Now, humanity has recognized that throughout many, many civilizations, and has developed sacred sites, you know, on top of these energetic nodal points. We've developed everything from temples to churches, mosques, to incredible sites of beauty, um, at these energetic nodal points. Some of these energetic nodal points are not developed, but they are such significant nature spots, be it the summit of a mountain, or a specific valley, or a specific forest, or it could be a particular tree in a forest, right? There is palpably an energetic presence at those places. And Sacred Earth is learning how to navigate the energies of the earth, in all its spectrums. There is an exchange in that energy, in that learning. There is a deeper level of understanding of existence and of self. And in that exchange, the individuals can become Sacred Earth practitioners, being guided to go to different places around the world, to tune into the energies even of their neighborhood, identify sacred sites around the world, and maybe go on to expeditions with us.
Yeah, that's a whole another interview. You talking about sacred sites, it's, yeah, I could listen to you for days on end, speak about your experiences there. It's profound, the level of work you do with sites around the world, and what's being facilitated there in terms of the support of the evolution of consciousness.
Mm.
Yeah. You're having a gathering in November, yes? Is this open to the
Yes,
public?
we are having an annual gathering
Mhm.
in Lake Tahoe. Um, it is accessible virtually for people that want to tune in and want to get a taste of what the community is like, get a taste of, what these transmissions are like, and the general direction of the work that we do, and why we do it, and the flavor by which we do it. This is, a weekend gathering that will be live streamed, and there is going to be, a registration opened up on our website for it. And I guess the links will share in the
All that in the notes. Yeah.
description. Yes. And in this gathering, and in this experience, it's a bit more intensified because it's basically 2 days, from 10 a.m. Pacific to 4 p.m. Pacific on each day. with multiple different sections of transmission and Q&A and uh, more like an interactive experience where people can also ask questions. What I love about these gatherings is when the community comes together, there is a palpable transformative energy that when everyone goes into a silence or into a meditative state, we are creating coherent network of beings. It's almost like a web that all the people that are present are establishing, and this web is starting to resonate at the same frequency because everyone is being attuned to that frequency. And then with the support of the guides, we are lifting that frequency higher and higher and higher. And individuals are having incredible experiences. And it could be anything from being in non dual states, or having realizations, or being in deep states of meditation, relaxation. And for some people, it's an incredibly transformative experience.
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak from my own experience of, um, I mean, there's you and the depth of what you have embodied and how you share from that and the transmission that comes from that. That for me is always profound. And then when you channel and the guides come through too, it always opens a level of access for me to access more of me
Hmm.
in a way. It's like steroids.
Hmm.
um, in a way that I can't do on my own. And what you're speaking to about the field that's created specifically in my experience with Ascension One, it is so pristinely clear and enables such an access to what I'm innately connected with already, but all the static is removed. So always when I've felt called to join a course or a gathering, it's always been uh, a very accelerated evolutionary injection
Mm.
to propel me further on my own path. Yeah, so deep respect for you and your work, and thank you
Thank you.
so much, Asil, for taking the time to
Thank you,
talk with me.
Catherine. It's an honor and a pleasure. And there's a way of our connection that inspires like and um, a deeper openness on my end. So thank you for creating that container.
Ah, my pleasure. Great. So, Asil, all the links and the details will be below in the notes. And yeah, much love to you and much gratitude for the choices that you're making and the challenges that you're facing and the life that you're choosing in service to yourself and all humanity.
Thank you.